Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
These three games are extremely important. Tennessee came into the preseason ranked in the top 25, had very high expectations, as did we. Probably similar in a lot of ways. We just quite hadn't been able to put all phases of the game together.
I like the opportunity that we have. I think we got the intangibles and the makings of a good team, but now we got to go pull it all together. If we can do that, then I think we got a chance to have a good season.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network on a Thursday night from downtown Columbia. Good to have you with us wherever you are dialed in around the states. Everyone's together tonight. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes, and the Steak Man, Graham Pope. And you can become part of the group as well. We will welcome you in at 800-956-7266. Also, email talkback@sportstalksc.com. On Twitter at SportsTalkSC. Coming up tonight, we'll hear from USC baseball coach Chad Holbrook in a little bit, live from Knoxville, Tennessee. We'll chat with him about the Gamecocks' big SEC series coming up at Tennessee. Chance for the Gamecocks to build on their series win over Vanderbilt last weekend, bounce back from their loss to Furman earlier this week, but more importantly, build momentum towards the SEC tournament and try to avoid playing that first day when four teams will get together for the right to advance to the main draw. So that's what we have coming up for you a little bit later on tonight, but plenty of time for your phone calls between now and then. 800-956-7266. Braves have lost today up in New York. The Mets are red hot. What a start for the New Yorkers. That's 11 straight wins. They opened the season undefeated at home. I think a 10-game homestand to open the season, guys. They are red hot. And Mike had been warning us. He was saying, after you get past the Braves' first two starting pitchers, it's going to be a little bit hairy for them.
Yeah, and they had their best pitcher on the mound today, and he didn't get out of the fifth inning, and that's not a good thing either. And Freddie Gonzalez said after the game that he's a little concerned about the way their bullpen and starting pitching is performing right now. They're hitting the ball maybe better than some people thought, scoring a few runs, but the pitching has not been great lately.
Well, you expected Mike Minor to be there, and when he's on the shelf again, and as Mike told us, he may be out for the season, so he's on the shelf right now. But it's interesting. It's a marathon, and I think Washington still will rise to the top before it's all over.
Well, you can't get too high in April. You can't get too low. Just like you said, it's a marathon. Got to let things play out and see which way everything goes. The Braves, of course, losers today. We'll talk more about that with Mike coming up a little bit later on. We've got the first round of the PGA tournament down in New Orleans. We'll update you on that. Clemson has released its non-ACC football opponents for the next several years, running through 2020.
Whoa.
And so we'll tell you who the Tigers are going to be playing between now and then in the years to come. 800-956-7266. We'll be right back. 800-956-7266 is the phone number here on Sports Talk. We've got open lines if you want to join in on the program tonight. If you haven't been able to get through, want to pick up on some of the things we were talking about last night, anything else you want to discuss tonight as well, certainly welcome. 800-956-7266. Couple of quick notes. USC misses out on the JUCO center from the junior college in California. Connor Clifford, coach, told me this morning that he's going to choose between Utah and Washington State. So he comes off the board. He was a California kid, played his junior college ball in California, high school ball out there, did visit South Carolina, but obviously decided to stay on the western part of the United States. So they miss out on him, but they have offered a 6'9" power forward out of Baltimore. We'll talk about that coming up in recruiting a little bit later on. Frank Martin and the USC staying very active on the recruiting front for the 2015 class. Pretty obvious they are not done trying to bring in new players, which also means they are not done sending off players from last year's team to make room on the roster for the incoming talent.
There's no doubt he's looking for a thick body that can lay wood to folk. That's what he's looking for.
Well, I mean, you would think of Cavicius going into his senior year continues to improve as he did from 2 years ago to last year. He can be that guy, but he's never going to be a great shot blocker, I don't believe. They need somebody. Now, Silva at 6'9" is supposed to be the tremendous athlete who can block a shot and run the court and give you that. So
and they needed that last year and the year before and the year before.
Mm-hmm.
But next year will be the first year in a very long time that the Gamecocks will have multiple seniors that have been in the program for 4 years. That has been an astounding issue. We were talking about this off the air not long ago. One guy in the past 8 or 9 years that has been a 4-year player at South Carolina, Lakeem Jackson. I mean, everybody else is filtered out, transferred out, left, quit the team, went somewhere else. And to me, that is the number one factor why the Gamecocks have had no success. Because unless you are Kentucky or Duke or North Carolina, you are not going to win big with first and second year players. Teams that win and make runs, not named Duke and Kentucky, are the ones that have third and fourth year guys. And who beat Kentucky? A team of third and fourth year guys in Wisconsin. That's how they did it, and that's how South Carolina's going to have to.
But who turned around and beat Wisconsin, a team with 4 freshmen?
Well, I mean, again, Duke and Kentucky are in another stratosphere, and the North Carolinas, and there's a certain number of schools that can get these. They can recruit 4 McDonald's All-Americans. If you're South Carolina or if you're Clemson or you're Wisconsin, how do they win big? How do they get to the Final Four? They recruit solid players, they develop them, and then they have men going against boys in the postseason.
Yeah, it helps. Like in the case of Wisconsin, you have a guy that was not heavily recruited in Frank Kaminsky, who develops into the Nationals Player of the Year. If you're fortunate enough to have someone like that, that's certainly going to be a bonus for you.
And even if you've got, veteran players, if their goal is to beat a team, they can get caught up. That Duke team to beat UNLV didn't get caught up. They went on in the championship game and won it. I think Wisconsin played their championship game that Saturday night against Kentucky.
Very possibly so. 800-956-7266, our number here on Sports Talk. Clemson today announced the future non-conference football schedule for the Tigers. Some of this some of this might be new to you. 2016, the Tigers will play at Auburn.
Ooh.
They'll have Troy at home, South Carolina State at home, and South Carolina at home. 2017, they'll get Kent State at home, Auburn at home, the Citadel at home, and at South Carolina. 2018, Furman at home, at Texas A&M, Georgia Southern at home, and South Carolina at home. Those are 4, Furman and Georgia Southern, even though Furman FCS, Georgia Southern now is FBS and an improving team at that level. Throw Texas A&M in there and South Carolina. Those are not any touches there. 2019, the dreaded Wofford game for Clemson. Get ready for the option. 2019, Wofford, Texas A&M at home, Charlotte at home, and at South Carolina. And then 2020, one game is still to be determined. Then they'll play at Notre Dame, Akron, at home and South Carolina at home.
I wondered that year would Texas A&M have to make 2 trips to South Carolina? Well, I could check on that.
Let's see. That would be 2018.
2018, and
So
this year they played.
Let's see. This is 2015. They're going out there. 2016 back in Columbia. 2017. No, it will be 2 trips to South Carolina.
Okay, all right. Mm-hmm.
Right, because this year South Carolina goes out there. So A&M will come to Columbia in 16. USC goes 17. They'll come back here in 18. So, yeah, A&M will have to make 2 trips to the Palmetto State in 2018. All right. You got anything else, K-Mac, that we have locally of interest?
I think you hit it.
That's it, huh? That's our only local note of the day.
It's quiet.
The baseball scoreboard, a lot of getaway games, a lot of afternoon getaway games today. So let's tell you about that. We touched on the Braves and the Mets. The Mets red hot. Really sets up a great weekend in New York. The Yankees and the Mets, both teams are playing well. New Yorkers have a reason to be excited about their 2 baseball teams today. The Braves lose to the Mets 6-3. Details on that coming up a little bit later with Mike Morgan. Milwaukee beat Cincinnati 4-2. Colorado over San Diego. Philadelphia 9-1. Pittsburgh beat Chicago 5-4. The Yankees over Detroit today 2-1. Yankees only had 2 hits, but they made them count. Had a balk called against Detroit. The Yankees had a runner on third. A balk got that run home, and they win it 2-1. And the Dodgers are leading San Fran 2-1 in San Francisco. It's in the 9th. St. Louis leads Washington 4-1 in the 8th. You're up to date on games played and being played. Coming up tonight, Oakland at the Angels, Baltimore at Toronto, Boston at Tampa Bay, and Kansas City at the White Sox. Down in New Orleans, first round of the Zurich Classic. They make the move from Harbortown to New Orleans. And Boo Weekley, 8 under 64. David Hearn, a 7 under 65. Brendan DeYoung, he is 7 under, playing his 15th hole. Daniel Berger, 6 under 66, along with Eric Compton, Brian Davis, and Mark Hubbard. Dustin Johnson's in the tournament, and Dustin shot a 67 today. That's 5 under for him. Bill McGirt, a 4 under 68. Jonathan Bird is 4 under through 14. Kevin Kisner continues to play well, 3 under 69. Sam Saunders, former Tiger, Arnie's grandson, 3 under 69. Aiken Scott Brown, 2 under through 13. Lewis Glover, a 1 under 71. Ricky Barnes, a 2 over 74. All right, so there you go with what's happening down there in New Orleans. South Carolina, Clemson baseball, both teams getting ready for their weekend league battles. As I mentioned, the Gamecocks heading to Knoxville to take on Tennessee. Tennessee still struggling. Baseball-wise, it's a good opportunity for South Carolina to go in and pick up some SEC wins, maybe win another SEC series. You were at Chad's presser today. Any injury updates to talk about?
No major injury updates. It's just kind of beating the same drum. If you're Chad Holbrook, hopefully they'll pull out of whatever they're in soon, and talked about the midweek losses and where they are right now. And he's not pulling any punches, that this is a down season. And I think he kind of understands that it's just, he's gonna have to ride this thing out, and maybe they can win some games and battle out a few games like they did last weekend, but it's going to be a struggle. And if this team makes the postseason, I think he'll almost dance a jig just to get in. But he mentioned that they've been in 13 of the past 14 regional finals, and they've been in a super regional in 11 of the past 14 years. And he understands the standard that's set there that is not being met right now.
It's kind of funny, if he lasts and you go on 5 years from now, people look back, they say, that ragtag team he had, he must have done one hell of a coaching job.
Well, you know what? If they can, they're 8-10. They're playing a Tennessee team, which is last in the East at 5-13. There's reason to go into this thing. I know that the Gamecocks are scrambling pitching wise, but there's reason. You go out and get a good outing by Wynkoop tomorrow, get a W. Did he say his Saturday starter?
Fiore.
Will be Fiore. All right. And then Widener
TBA.
on Sunday, or just wait and see? Well, we'll talk to him a little bit, but you know what? They could come out this with a 11-10 league record. All right, phone number 800-956-7266 here on Sports Talk. Let's jump to the phone lines. And we go to Andy in Columbia listening to us on the point here in the capital city. Andy, how are you? Welcome into Sports Talk.
Well, good evening there, Mr. Cornblue.
Hey, good to hear from you, my friend. How's everything going?
You know, how happier could I be? I've been carrying my sweeping broom around for the past 3 series and looking forward for a 4th series coming up.
You better get that broom
away.
You better get that broom, waxed and cleaned up to be used another time. There'll be no sweeping of the Yankees this weekend.
And so I won't be rude. Good evening there, K-Mac and Professor.
Good day.
They're listening.
But I would tell you this, the way the Mets are going, if you're a longtime Mets fan, you better celebrate while you can. I mean, I agree with you. Why not?
What do you think I'm doing right now?
Well, I mean,
what's funny is I listen to a lot of people, radio shows in Columbia. Oh, I feel sorry for the Mets, all these Braves fans, and I go, tell me, how many World Series championships has Atlanta won? The Braves won since they've been in Atlanta.
Yeah, I don't know why they would feel sorry for him. And I don't think this is a fluke for the Mets either. I thought before the season with the pitching that they have, if they can stay healthy up and down their lineup, this is a team that can
there's a problem.
Make some noise.
They're banged up already.
Well, and they're still winning.
Yeah.
I mean, they're off to their best start since 86.
Yeah, but come on. They set it up for you to play 10 home games in the first 2 weeks of the season. Give me a break.
Okay, the 16 first games have been in the East. The most important thing to do is to win in your division.
Yeah.
We're 10 games above in our division right
National
now.
League East. I'm shaking in my boots.
Well,
the only East in baseball that matters is the American League East. That's where the beasts reside.
Okay, Mr. Mouth, I think you still owe me money from when my Knicks.
I'm sure I do.
Many years ago.
I'm sure I do.
Put it like this: since you never pay off on your bets anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Let's go 100 to. We'll clear my side of the bet if you happen to somehow take 2 of 3 from my Mets, which I think is very. If you happen to win the series.
What's the balance? What's the balance?
I think you owe me about $15 whole. You're on.
Yeah.
Okay.
More money you'll never see.
I'll take the course.
Exactly, K-Mac.
We threw
what we bet.
We threw our really good Japanese guy today. So we're going back to the top of. I guess Panada will start for us tomorrow night. Who are you guys throwing?
Well, tomorrow night we got DeGrom.
Who?
Saturday we got DeGrom. DeGrom. The rookie of the year.
The bomb DeGrom? Yeah.
Yes.
Again, I'm shaking in the boots. Keep going.
Then you got Mr. Harvey coming up on Saturday.
Blow his ACL. Go ahead.
Then you got Mr. Neese coming up on Sunday.
All right. Well, you're gonna.
Mr. Harvey has a sprained ankle, so
you're gonna see Pineda, and you're gonna probably see CC in there, and we'll be all right. I'm not too concerned about it. We'll see. It's our time. It's our year. The Yankees' year. We're not much was expected of the Yankees, and I'd say right now we are over delivering. Hopefully that will continue. Back in a moment. We are back on Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from Main Street, downtown Columbia, on a beautiful Thursday afternoon in the beautiful Palmetto Estates. Good to have you with us. Phil Kornblutz, Professor Tom Hayes, K-Mac, Kevin McCrary. We'll get back to your phone calls here coming up. Right now, let's head over to Rocky Top. USC baseball coach Chad Holbrook joining us. The Gamecocks preparing to take on Tennessee beginning tomorrow night in Knoxville in what is a big, big series for the Gamecocks. Coach, good to have you with us tonight. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Phil. How are you?
We're fine. We're fine. Thanks for joining us. And, you know, you look at Tennessee, they're struggling, and you're 8-10 in the league. You got a chance really to make some hay this weekend if you can take care of some business.
Well, yeah, but they're also a very good team. I know their record maybe doesn't indicate it, but we know that they're very talented. They got a lot of high draft picks on their team. They were a preseason top 20, top 25 team, and you know, they got a Team USA kid on there that's hit double-digit home runs, and their starting pitchers are very good, even in league play. I think what's let them down a little bit is their defense, but we know that it's going to be a challenge. Obviously, playing on the road in this league is a huge challenge. They have good players. We're going to have to play well to win, and hopefully we'll play our best baseball this weekend. We're certainly going to need to do so.
Well, you know, baseball is an unforgiving sport. It doesn't let you enjoy things too long. It doesn't let you despair over things too long. You were feeling great coming out of the Vanderbilt weekend. Then you go to Furman. You lose to the Paladins earlier this week. How do you judge your players' mindset going into this weekend series?
Well, I don't know. It's been a struggle judging my guys' mindset all year long. We've been up and down from time to time. We've played good in spurts. We've been very inconsistent, you know, for the most part, and in all phases of the game. You know, we'll hit one day and then we might not pitch or play defense, or we'll play great defense and pitch like we did on Tuesday night against Furman, but you know, we won't have many competitive at bats, and it's kind of been the story. And we got to try to, you know, this last part of the season, we got to try to put all phases of the game together at the same time to give us a chance to, you know, win some of these big games to put us in a position to play in the postseason. You know, we're going to have to do that. And I think our kids have played, you know, worked hard in practice. They got a good attitude. I think their mindset's okay. I think they're a confident group. But, you know, we'll see. You know, you can walk around the hotel and you can walk around the practice field with all the confidence in the world, but when that first pitch throws, when you're going to find out if you're in the right spot.
What's your lineup going to look like tomorrow night?
Well, you know, I'm gonna watch practice today and see how some guys are bouncing back from a few injuries. You know, Marcus Mooney did not make the trip. He's not with us this weekend, and you know, Connor Bright's been nursing an injury. Hunter Taylor's been nursing a pulled hamstring. So we'll see how those two guys that are on the trip, Connor and Hunter, are on the trip. We'll see how they react to practice today. We'll try to work them pretty good here as we get to the field, and you know, but I'm wrestling with the shortstop position. I could play DC Arendas at short, or I could play Jordan Gore at short, and you know, right now I'm not ready to make that decision yet. Just because I really don't know. I'm gonna watch them work out today, and I'm very comfortable with DC at any position in the field from a defensive standpoint. Jordan's had his ups and downs, and both offensively and defensively, and so we'll see. You know, that's the shortstop, third base, and left field positions have been kind of juggled all year long, and that might be the same case this weekend.
All right, Jack Wynkoop was phenomenal for you in his outing against Vanderbilt, 131 pitches. How did his arm respond this week to that workload that he carried for you against Vandy?
Well, he looks great. His bullpens have been great. I think he feels great. You know, he did a lot of practicing yesterday, in which, you know, a lot of times we won't let the pitchers throw to the bases and pitchers field in practice or butt defenses and that kind of thing. But his arm felt so good that, you know, he threw to a couple bases and felt really good doing so, and his bullpens have been great. So I think he's going to be fresh and ready to go tomorrow night, and we're going to need a great outing from him because, you know, the numbers of the Tennessee pitchers are very, very impressive. And while their win total might be, you know, a little bit skewed, you know, they haven't quite played well, put it all together. I know that we're going to be challenged at the plate because their pitchers are very legitimate, and throughout their pitching lineup, they've won a few big games. They've been sporadic, but, you know, Marks, the kid we'll see on Saturday, you know, he hit Florida at Florida for 8 innings. Cox, the kid we'll see tomorrow night, he kind of mowed us down last year and has been very impressive in league play. So they have a quality arm. They have quality arms, and we're going to face a high-caliber arm all weekend long. And that's one of the challenges at hand for us to pitch on our own accord. We got to play great defense, and we got to be more consistent offensively.
Yeah, you mentioned the consistency on offense, and I know going into the season you expected to be a better hitting team than you've been right now. At this stage in the season, is it one of those situations where you kind of go, we are what we are right now, we just have to make the best of it? Or do you still expect some guys to do you still think some guys can change their approach and maybe step things up a little bit?
Well, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give in or say, hey, this is who we are, or let's just see how we can do the rest. I'm not going to go with that attitude. I'm going to try until the last pitch is thrown. I believe our kids got some great baseball left in us. We can catch fire. There's been a lot of teams sitting right in the same spot that we're in right now that have gone on a run and played very well in the postseason, and heck, even made it to Omaha. Fresno State won the national championship a couple of years ago, and they were a 4th seed, and I think the last team to get in, and no one even gave them a thought at this stage in the regular season. And last year, I think Cal State Fullerton was in the same boat, and some other teams. So we got some games left. We got some tall orders in front of us from a competition standpoint, but I still believe, and you have to believe. You have to believe in your players. I do, and I believe that we're going to play our best baseball at the right time of the year, and I'll believe that to the last pitch is thrown.
Coach, tell me this: after the Thursday night loss to Vandy, your team obviously played some tremendous baseball to knock off Vandy twice. Did you see anything as far as leadership is concerned, or the chemistry from your bench and the players in those last 2 games that you may can bottle and hope to bring out for the stretch of the season?
Well, we were really relaxed. We were really competitive. We were loose. We were great teammates. I thought that we were thinking about our team. From an individual standpoint, we turned our mindset to us instead of me. And I could sense that in the dugout in those 2 games. I think we really pulled hard for each other. We were there for each other when some kids made some tough plays or tough outs, or kids got down. I sensed some great camaraderie in those 2 games, and I thought that would carry over to Furman, and we'd play that way Tuesday. We didn't. We played really good defense. We didn't swing the bat, but I thought our attitude was good. But those 2 games were neat and special in the way that I thought we really came together as a group and pulled for each other, played hard, had some energy, played with some confidence. And that was neat to see. We're going to need to bottle that, like you said, this weekend in order to have a successful trip to Knoxville.
All right, Fiore on Saturday, and possibilities for Sunday. Any idea, or is it just wait and see who's available?
Well, it's kind of going to be who's ready to go, just because of we're going to try like crazy to put ourselves in position, to win a couple of these first 2 games. Or if we have a chance to win, we're not going to hold anybody for Sunday, I guess is what I'm getting at. Mm-hmm. But I really have liked the way that Josh Reagan has thrown his last couple outings. He's thrown as well as he's thrown since he's been here. Last year he had a great year out of the bullpen. We tried to start him early in the year, and he was a little bit tender. He didn't feel great. Probably he needed to take on that role. But his last 2 outings have been really, really good. He was special against Furman on Tuesday. He was great on the midweek game prior to Vandy. And I like the way he's starting to throw. So he gives us a left-hander that if we have to go to Murray, we have to go to Schmidt, we have to go to some of those other guys in relief on Friday and Saturday, I feel very comfortable that Josh Reagan gives us an option to throw a fresh left-hander out there on Sunday.
Coach, as always, thank you so much for the visits. Good luck to you this weekend. We'll talk to you again soon.
Well, I appreciate you having me, and look forward to seeing you at the stadium soon.
You guys, thank you very much. That's Chad Holbrook, USC baseball coach. Big weekend for them. He says don't read much into a Tennessee's record. They're much better than the record indicates. But, being talk show people and sports people, we look at the record and we see a team that's there for the taking for South Carolina. If they play with the kind of effort, energy, enthusiasm, and smarts they did against Vanderbilt, they should win that series. We'll be back.
It's time for our Braves Report. Mike Morgan, brought to you by Play It Again Sports off Bauer Parkway in Columbia, where you pay less for more. Chris Mosley and the and Juniors Federal Credit Union, helping South Carolinians attain their financial goals, and by Mattress by Appointment. Real simple. You give them a call and save 50 to 80% on premium mattress sets. Call 803-530-8549. That's 803-530-8549. All right, Mike, not a good trip to the Big Apple for the Braves. They go down today 6-3, so they are swept in New York, and the red-hot Mets stay hot, and the Braves, who at one point were red-hot, are now cooling off.
Well, they got cooled off considerably in the series. I think today was the one that maybe hurt the most because you had your ace on the mound in Tehran, and that's a different story than guys like Cahill and Stoltz. You expect to put more together, and Tehran just didn't have it for whatever reason. Walked 5 guys, was shaky early on, and in very few starts that Julio Tehran doesn't make it to the 5th inning. But that was, once again, good in spots, but not good enough. Not good enough to beat a Mets team that right now is just scorching hot. So time to regroup and get ready for another road trip.
And I guess the Braves could be thankful, and the Mets for that matter, that the Cardinals seem to throw water on the Nationals. By the way, the Braves, is there a silver lining in the performance by Stoltz last night? He looked dominant at times.
Look, there's something good about Stoltz that they liked him enough to want to get him in one of the trades with San Diego. So, he's not, to me, in the same category as Cahill. Cahill, to me, is a reclamation project that might be impossible to turn over. Stoltz is a guy that still has the ability to be a starter in this league. He just has to prove it on a more consistent basis. So, yeah, there were some encouraging signs there. I don't know if it's encouraging enough to feel good about every 5 days, him giving you a great chance to win, but it's something to build on, that's for sure.
After the game today, Freddie Gonzalez said right now he's not as concerned about his offense, and they did pound out 8 hits today, actually out-hit the Mets by a couple of by 8-6, but he said he's worried about his starting pitching and his bullpen now.
Well, he should be. I mean, the back end of the rotation, as we've talked about, is a concern, and the middle of the bullpen is just not good. Once they get to the back end with Grilly, they feel good. Johnson was terrible last night. And so when you don't have the middle of your bullpen working real well, that's how the Braves have been winning games. That they get ahead with good starting pitching, and then they shorten the game with a talented and deep bullpen. You can still do that without Craig Kimbrell. You can do that with a guy like Grilly, but you have to have other guys behind him that can go ahead and keep that score at bay before he gets out there in the 9th inning. And right now, they don't have that. Nobody is performing very well in the 6th, 7th innings for it. That's definitely problematic for the way this team has to win games.
Mike, as it stands now, we're here only in the first couple of weeks of the season. Do you see Mike Minor at all showing up with the Braves this year? Is he on the shelf, and is his condition, are they worried that it's going to remain chronic?
I think right now he's more than on the shelf. He's shut down. He's over there in Lake Buena Vista, Florida, at the spring training complex, and he's not doing anything. He's not throwing. So, yeah, I would not. I think anything you get from Mike Minor this year is gravy. But I would not be surprised at all if you don't see him pitch again this season. And then if you want to look long term, that the question becomes, well, what kind of investment, if any, do you make in Mike Minor? Because he's getting near that point where he's going to be a free agent, and do you really invest any money in a guy that's coming off a terrible year and who's had a lot of injury issues the last couple of years? So I think Mike Minor's future is certainly in doubt.
Mike, we appreciate it. We'll catch up with you tomorrow night as the Braves get to take on Philadelphia this weekend.
All right, Mike, with K-Mac and the Pro on the Braves Report, they wouldn't let me participate. Mm-hmm. Since the Yankees won today, I was banned from participating in the Braves Report since we beat Detroit 2-1. Dodgers and San Francisco, now they're in the 10th. Dodgers blew the lead, K-Mac, 2-2, about to get swept possibly.
Potentially, yeah, 2-2.
Boy. Baltimore and Toronto just about to get underway. Other finals today, Pittsburgh beat the Cubs 5-4. Miami over the Phillies 9-1. Miami's starting to show some life after their slow start. And the big guy Stanton, I think, hit his 4th home run of the season today. So he's earning his big dollars. And it was Milwaukee over Cincinnati 4-2. Colorado beat San Diego 2-1. How is Kimbrel doing out there in San Diego?
I don't even know.
You're not checking?
No.
You're not keeping up with him out there?
No, he's dead to me.
He's dead too. He's doing fine. The Padres are doing well. The Padres are a dangerous team. His fault that he got traded.
I hate fans who look over and look at and say, that's the guy we had. What is he doing? Who cares?
I've never heard you say that somebody is dead to you, Pro, like that. That's shocking that you would say that. We'll be right back. All right, some recruiting news here on this Thursday night. USC center target, 7-foot Connor Clifford, Saddleback Junior College in California. He's narrowed his decision to Utah and Washington State, according to his coach. He also took an official visit recently to USC. He was the Junior College Player of the Year in California last season, a native of Huntington Beach, California. Gamecocks also missed out on 6'2" Seton Hall transfer Jaron Cena. He committed yesterday to George Washington. USC's turned its attention to 6'9" power forward Eric Cobb of Baltimore, recently decommitted from Kansas State. USC, Virginia Commonwealth, Seton Hall reportedly are 3 of the top schools with him at this point. The Gamecocks also remain involved with 6'7" Dikembe Dixon of Del Barton, West Virginia, 6'6" Malik Ellison of Burlington, New Jersey, and, of course, 6'5" Tevin Mack of Dreer. They have also expressed interest in 5'11" UNC Asheville transfer Andrew Rousey. 2016 prospect 6'6" Durante Jenkins has been home in Santee this week while on spring break from his prep school in Orlando. He had hoped to visit USC Tuesday, Clemson Wednesday. The USC visit didn't happen because Frank Martin was out of town, but yesterday Jenkins and his grandfather did get up to Clemson for another visit with the Tigers, and he got a chance to visit with Coach Steve Smith, the assistant coach, and he took him around the campus, showed him the study hall, went to the gym, saw some players working out. He'd been favoring Clemson, but he's now drawing a lot more interest from schools, and he's decided to back away from having any clear-cut favorite for now. He said he and his family, they're going to take some time with the process now, and he's headed to Indianapolis today for an Adidas basketball event. Let's see, what else? Oh, South Carolina's one of the 11 finalists for 2016 6'10" power forward DeJuan Hewell of Miami. He also has Miami and Florida State, Louisville, Kansas, Notre Dame, South Florida, North Carolina, LSU, and Maryland on his list. That's the kind of player you got to get to really propel your program. If you can win that recruiting battle against those blue blood basketball programs, that's a big step forward for you. One football note, Clemson has offered quarterback Joey Gatewood out of Jacksonville. He's a 2018 guy, very highly regarded. South Carolina as well, but the feeling is he's going to commit pretty soon to Florida State. They're seeing him as the next Jameis Winston there in Tallahassee if he indeed follows through.
Minus all the legal problems.
Yeah, minus the crab legs and everything else that Jameis seems.
Well, this guy doesn't eat crab legs, I heard.
That's a recruiting question at Florida State. Do you like seafood? No. Okay. Excellent.
You got a chance to be a star here. All right. There you go with recruiting. Check it out on our website, sportstalksc.com. On Twitter, use hashtag STRecruiting. Next hour, more calls. Also, College of Charleston baseball coach Monty Lee. We'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And we're back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. On a Thursday night coming up, we've got College of Charleston baseball coach Monty Lee joining us. The Cougars tearing it up in their conference this year. They are rolling 13-2 in the Colonial Athletic, 29-9 overall. They beat Coastal earlier this week, and they are nationally ranked. Their RPI is 25. And the thing with Charleston, though, is I don't think they will ever be considered to host a regional at their facility. I don't think they can handle it down there at Patriots Point with what they have. We'll ask Monty about that, but I don't think that they would be under consideration for hosting a regional, unless, of course, they could use the Joe.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
In some form or fashion. We'll ask Monty if they are actually even thinking about that. But they're having a very fine year, 29-9, 13-2 overall. They and Wilmington clearly best two teams in the Colonial Athletic. And we'll talk with him coming up about the remainder of the season for them and where it might go. We talked about South Carolina. Gamecocks are 5th in the SEC East at 8-10, trailing Florida, Vanderbilt, Missouri, and Kentucky. Chance to move up if they do some damage against Tennessee this weekend. Clemson plays a big series at Georgia Tech. The Tigers are 3rd in the Atlantic Division, and they are 4th overall in the ACC in terms of the league record at 11-9 in their division, trailing Louisville and Florida State. So, Clemson and South Carolina pretty much in the same boat. They've got some winnable games left on the schedule, but they've got their 2 big series against the 2 best teams in the league in their respective leagues pretty much still ahead of them. You could say Miami at 15-6 is the best team, or maybe the second best team in the ACC, but Clemson still has Florida State coming up, and they still have Louisville coming up, 1 at home, 1 on the road. South Carolina still has Texas A&M coming up, and they still have LSU coming up, 1 at home and 1 on the road. By the way, Texas A&M and LSU begin a series. Is that series starting tonight?
Yeah,
they're facing off tonight.
Yeah,
that's a huge SEC baseball series. That's on the SEC network, I would think.
No, I think tonight may be on the Deuce.
Oh, is that right?
I think.
It's on one of the
I'll
ESPN channels. Yeah, it's on one of the ESPN channels. So that's certainly going to be huge. The Big South race, Coastal, 11-4, leading the South ahead of Charleston Southern at 9-6. Radford has the best overall record at 12-3. In the Southern Conference, Wofford is tied for 3rd at 6-5. Mercer is leading the league at 10-4. Told you about the Colonial Athletic. And Upstate in the Atlantic Sun is in 7th place at 4-8 going into the weekend. Clemson tennis, good day for the Tigers. The men upset 32nd ranked Louisville in the first round of the ACC tournament, 4-3. Clemson men are the 11th seed. They're 12-15. And the Clemson women, the number 5 seed, ranked 21, defeated number 13 Louisville 4-0 in the women's tournament. See if that tennis success can carry over to baseball and then football. Be right back. right, we're back on Sports Talk, Carolina Radio Network. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and the Professor Tom Hayes talking about college baseball, as we were a couple of minutes ago, and we welcome into the program College of Charleston coach Monty Lee. We pointed out what the Cougars are doing, where they stand in the league, and how they are doing nationally. A team to be reckoned with once again. I don't think it's any surprise after what they did last year. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Corn. How you doing?
We're all good. We're all good. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. I know you've been in a meeting, and thanks for taking time out to join us tonight. So how you feeling about things? You're in a tight race in your league, but you're doing well there, and you're sitting well nationally. How are you feeling about things at this point?
I tell you, Phil, I couldn't be any prouder of our ball club. We came into the season, obviously, with high expectations coming off of last year's season, and actually had some tough luck. We lost 2 of our 3 weekend starters, and just really didn't know, what kind of impact that would have. But some guys have stepped up for us and done a nice job on the pitching end, and offensively, we're much improved this year. And guys are just finding ways to win games. We've been on a nice roll now for, I guess, about the last month, really. Guys have just been playing well and finding ways to win ball games, and have put us in a really good position at the time. But as you know, we're all in that critical stretch where we got about 14 games to go, and we all know how important finishing strong is in the college baseball season. So hopefully our guys will stay grounded and focused on the task at hand, and we can continue to play good baseball from here on out.
What did you do when you lost those weekend starters? How did you replace them?
Well, I'll tell you, it's pretty incredible, to be honest with you. We took a kid that was a fifth-year senior who was our starting right fielder last year, Brandon Glazer. Brandon played every day in right field. Brandon had 3 career appearances out of the bullpen, and we told Brandon coming into the spring that we were going to convert him to pitcher. And this is a kid that got drafted by the Royals out of high school as a position player. And the kid is just selfless and such a great kid, and was all about the team. And he said, Coach, if that's what it's going to take, for the team to be successful, then that's what I'll do. And lo and behold, he's pitching on Saturdays for us, and he's 7-1 and just doing a great job. And We've been able to piece it together. We've got a couple freshmen that are throwing well out of the bullpen for us, and we're not real deep, but the guys that are pitching for us have thrown well, and offensively we've been able to pick up the slack on days where maybe we haven't pitched well and scored runs for our pitch staff, which we didn't always do last year. Last year we had to pitch well and catch the baseball day in, day out to win, because we didn't score all the time. But this year it's a little different ball club. But the guys are playing hard and having fun and staying loose and just being consistent. And I couldn't be prouder of my team right now. Well,
you've won 15 of 17. You look at the body of work. You've got a win over South Carolina. You've got a win over Indiana. You've got Clemson coming up there, which will be a big game for you in terms of the RPI and the national seeding and things of that nature. You've got a win, 2 wins over Coastal Carolina. You're playing Furman for 3 this week. You're stepping out of league play this weekend. Your RPI, your NCAA RPI, 25. Is that about right for this team? You feel like this team is a top 25, top 20 kind of team?
Well, Phil, I'll be honest with you. I don't know everybody else out there and how we compare with everybody else. The only thing that I know is kind of my club, and I don't really focus a whole lot on other teams out there. We just kind of worry about our team. And I'll say this, I think if you watch our team out on the field, there's not that many college baseball teams that I think you could put on the field that could outproduce the group that I've got. I really feel good about my position players. Defensively, we got a nice defensive ball club. We've got 9 guys in the lineup that can swing the bat. We got some power. We got a little bit of speed. I don't know how we compare to other folks. I know that our team's pretty good, and pitching wise, we've got 7 or 8 guys that throw strikes. As you know, in the game of baseball, if you limit your walks and you limit your errors, you throw strikes, catch the ball, and find a way to throw up a big inning here or there, which has kind of been our recipe. We tend to score in bunches. It's not a team that's a big manufacturing runs type team by the bunt or the hit and run. We hit with power a little bit. That's our recipe. We throw strikes and catch the ball and throw a big inning up here or there, and we tend to win. So we're gonna hopefully we can continue to do that because it's worked for us so far.
Yeah, team batting average of 316. You've hit 43 home runs. Carl Wise having kind of an MVP year for you. 344, 10 home runs, 47 RBIs. He's been outstanding.
He really has, and Carl's been a guy that's been an impact bat for us ever since he set foot on campus. He was a freshman All-American, hit over 300 as a freshman with 10 homers, and we knew right then and there this guy was going to be a star. We really did, and he's been in the lineup ever since. And in his junior year, now in his draft year, the best year that he's had since he's been on campus. Carl's just one of those guys that when you need a big time hit and you need an RBI, he finds a way to get the run in, and that's why he's sitting in the middle of the order for us. And he's a potential All-American this year based on the numbers that he's putting up this year.
Are you guys hosting the league tournament this year?
We are. Actually, we have it for the next 2 years. We have it this year and next year, so we're pretty excited about bringing the CAA tournament to Charleston this year. Wow,
so Charleston will have the Southern Conference tournament and the CAA going on.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge weekend for baseball when we get to the third week of May with the Southern Conference tournament going on and the CAA tournament going on. So there'll be a lot of good baseball going on, a lot of professional scouts in the area checking out players, a lot of hotels and restaurants filled for the event. So it's going to be a good time in Charleston that week.
Now, listen, if you don't need another reason to go to Charleston, baseball will be another good one to get you down there. What about, if things continue to go well for you and you finish up very strongly with a very impressive record, a high RPI, what is the school's position regarding bidding for hosting a regional? Are you guys gonna play that game and try to get a host regional?
Well, I certainly think that we will if we feel like we're in a position to potentially, based on our RPI number at the end of the year. I don't know the specifics as to when that happens. The timing of that, as far as when you would put in a money bid and try to get a host site. But we're sitting at 25 right now, and like most baseball coaches, you tend to look at the RPI websites almost every day and kind of see where you're at. If we can get inside the top 20, we may have a chance, because as you can tell, Phil, just looking in the Carolinas, north and south, there may not be a host site in the Carolinas this year, which is odd for all of us because we're used to having such great college baseball in the area and having multiple host sites in the Carolinas. But this may be a year where we don't, and we're in a position to possibly get into the conversation, but we still have to take care of this over the next 14 games to put ourselves in the conversation of being able to host.
So Patriots Point is a facility that could handle a regional setup. Yeah. I figured so. When I saw that the tournament's going to be there, I would think if you can handle all the teams coming in for your tournament, you could certainly do the same thing for a regional. Coach, good luck this weekend, and we will continue to keep a close watch on your Cougars as you march forward. And thanks again for being with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, as always, Phil.
Our pleasure. Monty Lee. So ahead for the Cougars now. We mentioned they've won 15 of 17. They've got Furman for 3 this weekend. Then they go to William and Mary, and then to Clemson. Then a big conference weekend for them. Of course, not overlooking William and Mary, assuming that they do well there. They've got 3 with Wilmington in Charleston on the 8th, 9th, and 10th of May. That'll be a big showdown weekend, no doubt. All right, we'll hit this break. We'll be right back. It's so good to see NBA playoff basketball back where it belonged, Boston Garden, the parquet floor, once again playing to playoff teams. Hey, look, there's playoff basketball at the Staples Center as well. I'm enjoying watching the team of Los Angeles, Clippers, playing. Do they take down all the Lakers banners when the Clippers play in the playoff?
They just cover them up.
They cover them up.
Yeah, that's a lot of covering to do, too.
Yeah, not as many as they have in Boston. But, it's just good to see that the basketball fans of L.A. have a team that they can root for.
Sure. That's always nice.
Yeah, they lost last night, though, didn't they?
Yes, they did in overtime. But they may have won the war, because if Tony Parker can't come back, guys, that'll be tough for San Antonio.
Well, the Spurs weren't going to go away quietly.
No.
Basketball note here that ran across from Bill Gunner at thebigspur.com, basically saying that it looks like Seventh Woods is all South Carolina's now. He's saying it's not a matter of if Woods will pick the Gamecocks, but instead of when he elects to join the 2016 class. That would be, I guess, a great pickup for South Carolina. 6'1" guard, very highly recruited, highly talented. It was thought North Carolina was the team to beat. I think North Carolina, with their NCAA worries, it's really hurting them in this recruiting class. There's a couple of other guys that they're hanging on to that have not committed to them yet. The one in North Carolina, the kid in Kingston, North Carolina, I think it's North Carolina and Duke, and he's Kingston has been a Tar Heel stronghold over the years. Jerry Stackhouse came out of there. Another one of their players. It's pretty much automatic, but I think the feeling is this kid's going to maybe go to Duke because of the concern over the NCAA and North Carolina and just what kind of penalty. They were supposed to get that letter from the NCAA weeks ago.
Still waiting.
Hasn't come down.
Got lost in the mail.
Well, the interesting thing, I was I was reading Gunner's piece also, Cohen, and what interests me is the fact that he said that Frank Martin apparently interested him on how he's being used, because I've always had the feeling, and I've only seen him play once, that from a stature standpoint, as he moves up, he's a point guard, but he is not a point guard. He will have to develop into one, but they said Frank Martin apparently interested him on how he can use him not only at the point guard position, but off the ball to take advantage of his scoring ability. Because remember, Larry Davis, they tried to stick him a square peg in a round hole by making him a point guard in North Carolina. Then he transfers to USC. Oh, yeah, this guy is a scorer. He's the size of a point guard, but when a guy can score, you find somebody else.
Well, keep in mind, if this comes to pass and he does join South Carolina in the 2016 season, the Gamecocks are still going to have Marcus Stroman pretty much entrenched at point guard. You got Dwayne Notice, who will still be there, who will be a point guard. PJ Dozier has point guard skills as well, kind of fancies himself as a guy who wants the ball too quite a bit. But you can't have enough players on your roster. Load up to the list.
Just
Absolutely.
ask John Calipari.
We've got Harold Nichols, PC football, coming up. We're back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Just chatting with Tevin Mack's mom during there. Nothing to report, nothing substantial. Said that today she talked with Georgia, and I think she said there have been some text messages from Texas and also from Kansas, and she said that her son had been in touch with USC's Lamont Evans, assistant coach. No visits set up at this point, and really no movement forward towards a decision at this particular time, which is kind of surprising if it were going to be Texas, that quickly, especially after meeting with Shaka. Not saying that it won't be Texas, but you would have thought that, if he had a predetermined decision in his mind to stick with Shaka Smart and to go to Texas, he would have gone ahead and pulled the trigger on that. But that has not happened yet. Okay, let's turn our attention back to college football here in South Carolina as we check in with coaches around the state on their spring football practices. And Coach Harold Nichols from Presbyterian joining us, coming off his best year as the head coach of the Blue Hose and hoping to build on that through the spring into this coming season. Coach, how are you?
Phil, I'm doing great. How's everybody in Columbia?
Man, we're doing fine. We're doing fine, just enjoying the beautiful weather. And did you build on it? Did you take some of that momentum off the regular season and build on it in the spring?
Well, I feel like we did. That's something that, it's been a process that we've gone through since I became the head coach here, is that, trying to be competitive and be relevant. And that's something that I feel like this past fall we were able to kind of be that. Now, the challenge becomes, is being able to continue the process and continue to get better as a program. And, felt like we had a really good off season. Our kids really attacked the weight room and the off season conditioning program. And, feel like we had a productive 15 days of spring practice. It looked like football and we stayed healthy, and, we're trying to wrap up the spring here now. We're in our last week of classes this week and exams start next week. And this seems like the spring semester just kind of flown by.
Yeah, it seems like they always do. And when you went into spring practice, what were your greatest concerns? What areas of your team, personnel-wise, position-wise, needed the most attention?
Well, I think, we lost, two of our guys up front, and every year you kind of rebuild in the offensive line. That chemistry and communication is such a big part of what those guys do up front. And, and that continuing to build depth up there. And that's one thing that I think we've been able to get better over the course of time is, at the line of scrimmages on both sides of the ball. But that's been a particular area of concentration and concern. Losing Toby Antigua and Jeremiah Mackey. Jeremiah from up here at Malden High School was the Greenville County Player of the Year coming out of high school and had a great career here for us at PC. And, they're two really good playmakers for us on the edge offensively. And so we had to have some young guys step up this spring. And I feel like we've got some young guys in the pipeline coming that are be able to kind of fill their shoes a little bit. We've got a veteran crowd coming back defensively. On the defensive side, Ed Britt and Donnell Williams, two all-conference type players and at the second and third level back there. And, just continuing to sharpen those guys and continue to build more depth on that side of the ball. I'd say those are probably, two or three big areas of concern and points of emphasis for us in the spring.
Yeah. As I look at your season for last year, I really look at you as having a 6 record. I know that's not what the record actually says, but I'm not counting the Ole Miss game, and I'm not counting the NC State game, and I'm not counting the Northern Illinois game. 3 money games, that's tough. Everywhere, the other games, you went 6-2. So, you got to feel good about that. And you did it averaging, only about 15, 16 points a game overall for the entire season. Of course, that skewed a little bit because of those 3 money games you had to play going up against those big programs with the big defenses, et cetera. So are you concerned, though, about your offense? Is your offense better than what those numbers last year indicate? Will it be better?
Well, that's hard to measure. I do think we made some strides offensively last year. We played on some big stages and against some really, really good defenses. You go over to Oxford and, I think they had the number 2 ranked defense in the country. And, So I think those numbers do get skewed a little bit playing those bigger schools like that. But, felt like we were competitive against teams in our league. I think that there's always room for improvement. And, I don't think we're anywhere close to where we need to be offensively. I do think we made some steps there this spring with some younger guys coming. That's one thing that it seemed like defensively, we had, kind of a perfect storm. We had some older kids that had played a lot of football for us and had matured right before our eyes, and really kind of, the heart and soul of our football team, both from, on the field, but from a leadership standpoint. But I do think we're making strides offensively, and I do look for improvement here in the 2015 season. There's no doubt about it.
Well, you're going back to Oxford this coming season, except it's Oxford, Ohio, not Oxford, Mississippi. I don't know if that makes you sleep any better at night or not, but playing Miami of Ohio to open the season, then Charlotte, okay. But outside of that, everything else is pretty much on your level. So your AD is kind of taking his boot off your throat a little bit this coming year, huh?
Yeah, I'm just glad he didn't schedule the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I do think that that's one thing that we've tried to do. And that's always a balancing act in FCS football. Playing those bigger schools for the revenue that it generates, and but having a balance in your schedule so you can remain competitive at your level. And I feel like this year's schedule is a little bit more balanced than what it's been in the past years. I think I've played 11 of those since I've been the head coach at PC, and that's quite a big number. But I think that it's an exciting time on campus. People are really excited about Presbyterian College football, and hopefully we can capitalize on that and have a really good year next fall.
Who came out of spring as your number one quarterback?
Really don't have one right now. I think that we've got a lot of candidates. Cameron Garrick from down there at Wilson Elko, and Caleb Griffin from the Florence area there is, 2 fifth-year guys. Been with us for a long time. We've got some experience snaps underneath their belt. We've got a young man by the name of Ben Cheek who we redshirted last year that is from Franklin County, Georgia, that's got a lot of ability and had a really good spring. So, probably won't name a starter per se right now. That'll go into the summer and the fall, and or at least in August camp. And, we'll try to put the best guy out there that's going to help us win games.
Well, enjoy your off season here. I know you've been busy recruiting and trying to find some future stars, and pretty soon it'll be time to get back to work in August and start grinding it out towards 2015. We look forward to visiting with you when our tour comes through Clinton once again, and then talking to you during the season. And thanks as always for your time.
Well, Phil, we appreciate you having us on. Appreciate all the coverage you give college football all over the state. You guys do a great job. And if you're ever in Clinton, come see us.
You know that. We'll be coming by to see you. Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you, Coach. Take care.
Yes, sir.
Bye-bye. All right, Harold Nichols, head coach at Presbyterian. Yeah, you go back at their year, 6-2 against teams at their level. 0-3 against in the money games, but I don't think a coach, at that level of a school, should be held accountable for losing those games and those money games. If you win one, you should get all the credit, but you shouldn't get the blame to play those teams, especially 3 of them in 1 year. It's tough.
I just think the toughest part, I guess, is to keep the psyche of your team on a positive note, especially when you're getting pummeled. That has to be a difficult chore, and making sure that your frontline players, so you can be successful in the games on your level, don't get injured or beat up in those money games.
Of course, they can get hurt playing anybody.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Football. They all hit hard, and they can all get hurt. But I think the psyche, these guys want to win, and you go and get beat, and you get beaten, wears on you and kind of affects your confidence. It was a great bounce-back year for PC under Harold Nichols. Be right back. Hey, we're back. It is Sports Talk presented by the Palmetto Project. Call 888-998-4646 to enroll in a health plan and avoid paying next year's tax penalty. Again, the number, 888-998-4646. 800-956-7266 is our phone number if you'd like to join us. K-Mac on our Twitter line at Sports Talk SC. Bunch of activity there. A lot of people chatting back and forth on Twitter. What are they talking about?
A few people with the Chad Holbrook thing, and I just don't understand this. Somebody.
What Chad Holbrook thing?
Well, when Chad's on the show and he's doing what coaches do, which is say they still believe in their team, and that's what Chad said, and somebody responded, blah blah blah, whatever, Chad. And I said, well, there's another loyal Gamecock baseball fan. And then somebody responded, a guy can still be loyal while realizing the team has hit the iceberg hard this year. And my response is no. I mean, that's not being loyal. Giving up on your team, writing your team off, mocking your coach, and giving up on a season when it's still going on is not the definition of a loyal fan. And he said there's a line somewhere between what you said and saying there are problems. I'm not exactly sure what it is. Well, that line is before going blah, 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 whatever, coach, or whatever, Chad, when he says, I still believe we're going to play great baseball down the stretch, because he is right. I mean, the season is not lost completely. Now, I'm not predicting that the Gamecocks are going to go on this epic run and end up in Omaha.
Right.
But I don't fault Chad Holbrook for believing that they can get hot and get into the postseason. Once you get into the postseason, Wynkoop gives you a good outing. Some guys step up. A ball hits the chalk. You never know what's going to happen.
Wynkoop is very capable of getting you into the second game of a regional.
Yeah, yes. I mean, they beat Vandy 2 out of 3
to win. Yeah,
so they can beat teams, and they're better than the team that got pounded at Florida and lost that first game against Vanderbilt. But they're not the team that they were 3 years ago. That's just not where they are right now.
I would agree with that. Also, listen, people, you people on Twitter, on our timeline. All right, get off my back about our poll question. Our poll question is a damn good poll question. Our poll questions are timely, they are relevant, and they deal with sports in South Carolina. And I'll tweet them out as much as I want to. The current poll question, Steve Spurrier, well, he turned 70. How many more seasons will he coach? Now, that is a legitimate question. That is a legitimate question. It's going to be a legitimate question this year, next year, the year after, and the year after, until he retires. And you're going to have to live with it, Gamecock people. Those who have responded, and we had good response on this, 20%, 20.7% say he will coach 5 more seasons. One fewer vote, 20.2%, they say he'll coach 2 more seasons. 18%, just under, say 3 more seasons. 16% say he will coach 4 more seasons. 13% say he will coach more than 5. So we have a varying degree of opinions on that.
Well,
that's a good question. It's a legitimate question.
Let's ask the question.
Quit belly aching about the fact that the question.
Well, I mean, I do get where some fans are like, "Can we stop talking about his age and how long he's going to be?" I mean,
you can't stop talking about it. It's going to be there.
But eventually you just have to say, okay, he's coaching this year, and then nobody knows. Nobody knows how long any coach is going to be at a school. I mean, you could be 45 and get fired 3 years later. College football is a year-to-year job.
I think Dabo Swinney is going to coach at Clemson 30 more
Ask
years.
Gene Chizik. I mean, people will probably think, well, Gene Chizik's going to coach 20 more years here at Auburn. Just won a national championship. 2 years later, he's out of work. I mean, it is a year-to-year job. So your age doesn't really matter in that regard. Now, is he going to be coaching 10 years from now? No. We know that he's not going to be coaching into his 80s. Steve Spurrier.
I don't know. But he said he wouldn't be coaching into his 70s.
Well,
I'm going to take the
Here's
under.
a better question. If you're the university, do you sit down, seriously say, this is the succession program? Or you just go cold turkey, and when Spurrier says, well, I think I'm stepping down, then you do a coaching search. That would be the big question. What would be their philosophy as far as a replacement?
I mean, is there somebody on their staff now? I know Spurrier would push hard for his son, Spurrier Jr., but he's kind of dropped in a story that I read recently about him. It was a Q&A. I think it was on the state newspaper. They did a one of the many pieces they did for his birthday. And he was asked, what about, you have kids on your coaching staff? And he said, he said, Scotty Spurrier's putting in for some jobs, trying to get something. And Steve Spurrier Jr. is ready, as he put it, to be a head coach or an offensive coordinator somewhere. So I think he's telling these guys, hey, it's great having you here.
I don't think his kids have anything to worry about when he retires. Remember, he got $25 million.
But they still want to have a job. They probably like to do something for themselves, not lazy moochers like you, Corn.
All right, Texas A&M with a 1-0 lead on LSU. That's number 1 versus number 2. They're playing in Baton Rouge. Cleveland and Boston. Celtics only down 4. 38-34. 7:10 to go. K-Mac, how Dodgers and Giants game turn out?
The Giants won.
Oh, wow. How much? What was the final score?
3-2.
3-2. And how many innings? 10 innings. Well, how'd that series turn out?
The Giants swept.
All 3 games, huh? In Candlestick.
After they lost.
Shouldn't you wait till your team has a better record? The Dodgers just gave 3 away and still have a better record than the Yankees.
Well,
the Yankees didn't make the playoffs. I think you've got your own problems to worry about.
Here's something interesting.
Definitely.
Celtics down 2.
Here's something interesting for fans complaining about their team not playing well. We got number 1 and number 2 playing, right? From what I've seen in the last 5 minutes, second baseman double play ball booted. Batter at the plate, runners on first and second, nobody out, and he pops up a bunt and he's out. I mean, so even these top teams have guys making bonehead mistakes.
They make the mistakes in the major leagues. It's baseball.
But you can't
always going to get a bunt down correctly.
Well,
you got to get that bunt down. You're on the road. You at LSU. You got runs on first and second. You got a gift in there. You got to get that bunt down.
Well, I agree. But the best of them sometimes don't. Celtics have now tied it up 38-38. So.
Stop the game now.
No, let us get ahead first.
Right. What's that series right now?
It's 2-0 Cleveland. Yeah. Intern Hall of Famer Ian Maripol is attending that game at Boston.
Looks like the Celtics are going to win as many playoff games this year as the Lakers.
Mm-hmm. And he's bringing us some positive mojo to the Garden tonight.
Texas A&M, the guy next batter just picked them up.
Will the Lakers make the playoffs in the next 5 years? Because let's face it,
in the next 5 years?
Yeah,
yes.
Kobe,
that's an easy question to answer. Yes, they'll make it multiple times.
Kobe is a broken down, shell of himself. He can't
you
play
do
anymore.
realize the Lakers have made the playoffs many times without Kobe Bryant.
I know you've got, you're going to have an early draft pick because you're in the lottery.
Well, not necessarily. If they don't get a top 5 pick, it goes away.
Is Kobe going to be sitting there he's going to be representing?
Do you know anything about basketball, Corn Blue?
All I know is that you're not in the playoffs, and we are.
I mean, it's just
that's all I need to know.
Like I said, I think the Celtics will win as many playoff games as the Lakers.
All I know is that we've won more championships than you have.
I won.
Oh, now we're going to dig up those old championships.
Head to head, we've won more games against you than you have against us. We've won more games against you in the playoffs. We lead in every measurable category.
How'd the season series go against the hapless Lakers this year? Did you win that? No, you didn't. Yeah, 1-1. Couldn't even win against them then.
1-1.
That's so funny.
We felt sorry for you.
Oh, hilarious.
All right, I am not going to be here tomorrow night.
Oh, my night just got better.
So you will be in the capable hands of K-Mac and the Pro and the Steak Man. Everybody have a great night. Thanks for being with us, and join us for Sports Talk tomorrow night.